Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in on a Wednesday evening. You know how we do it here on Talk the Dog on Tuesdays and on Wednesdays. We come rat-tat-tat-tat-tat, running down them steps. We come down here hot off the presser. We had our guy Jared Wilson today. One of the very first my guys on the Film Guy Network, Jared Wilson, shouts out. Wore 56 in high school too, so you want to weigh to the boy's heart. Wear 56 or 77, all right? That was the high school number and the college number. There was also that weird era where I wore 67. Let's not talk about it. Anyways, got Jared Wilson today, got Arian Smith as well today. But I want to start today with the shouts out to the frat boys. Was driving down Millage today, and I don't know which letters, goofies, backwards symbols, things, groups it was, but they were out there doing collective yard work. And they've been out there for the last 2 days. And you know what I thought about? I thought about, had I been one of these khaki wearing, goofy shoe wearing, sneaker wearing, or what was it the ones that they wear nowadays? New Balances. New Balance wearing, three button polo wearing goofy guys that was in one of these crooked letter companies. I would have figured out yard maintenance way before. Because my dad wasn't one of these ones that was like a show you guy. He just let you do it. He let you walk out there with the lawnmower and figure it all out. I didn't understand how to do any type of lawn maintenance until I became a homeowner of my own. So the crooked letter crews out here letting people learn how to do yard work. So shouts out to them. They will be better husbands for it. Well, at least for that part. Don't know about the other stuff. I think it's going to be a collective theme now that I'm driving down Millage every day and getting an access and getting to engulf myself in the environment that is fraternity hood. I think this might be a theme of me not necessarily ragging on them, but me kind of letting everybody know that I wasn't rocking with the crooked letter folk, all right? Shocker, the jock wasn't out here with the frat boys. I don't think I would have fit in. I would have naturally fit in eventually, but shouts out, man. Yard work. Couldn't believe it. Was really, really honest to see it. Other thing, we be waiting around in these media pressers for quite some time because they tell you practice is supposed to end at 6:10, but that's when they thought practice was supposed to end. And anybody who's ever played football knows if practice is supposed to end at 6:10, it really ends at like 6:25, maybe even 6:30, depending on how big of a mood coach is in at that point. But, you know, so we're just waiting around. And the conversation in the media room is always kind of varying. It's almost always trivia, sports trivia based. I'm good with that. I'm good with all kinds of conversations until we get to the point where we've been sitting in the room long enough to start talking about fantasy football. And man, I just don't really care to know whether or not you should pick up, you know, whoever the hot waiver wire is guy at the point. So fantasy talk, you know, like whether or not you should pick up Puka Nacua this week on the waiver wire. I don't know. I don't really care either. Let's not talk about it. But anyways, on to the pressers. Thought Jared Wilson, you know, coming out of high school was going to be an elite athlete. Okay, the moment he walked onto high school or college campus for the University of Georgia. I think this was a little crooked yesterday. But if you watch his high school highlight tape, immediate, like the first clip, he's out in space being a freak athlete in like a spring game or like a fall scrimmage. And I saw that, my eyes lit up, and I was like, hoo. Turns out he was like 340 pounds in high school. He's playing at 305 now. We found that out today. I asked him about his flipping of his commitment, because if you guys remember, you might not, Jared Wilson, who is your backup center now and your backup guard, he's probably your 6th or 7th offensive lineman in the lineup at this point right now through the season. If you remember, he was committed to Georgia, flipped to North Carolina, flipped back again to Georgia, and I wanted to know about that today and what went into that process and how that worked. And he basically said he was committed to Georgia, obviously then COVID hit, and there was a big emphasis on family, staying close to home and being close to, obviously, North Carolina kid. So there was that, and that caused the initial flip. And then he eventually said, you know, eventually Georgia won over, and that was part of the reason, you know, the main reason for the recommitment to the University of Georgia. Both parents for Jared Wilson were great athletes. Mom was a hooper, a real big-time hooper in high school until she had a knee injury. was so much of an athlete that she maintained athleticism in college and pursued a cheerleading career. So very athletic family. Dad was such a predominant high school football player in the area that all Jared had to do was tell his high school football coach, hey, my dad was this, and then dad ended up having to play for the same, or having had played for the same high school football coach, knew exactly who he was. He was like, I got me a good one. And started immediately calling football coaches. So, there's a long history and lineage of athleticism in that family. And if you watch him play, we talked about it on the All-20 or the film breakdown. The play, Brock Vandegrift scoots out and they get called for a hold. Micah Morse gets called for a hold. Jared Wilson looks like he's running a damn near 4.65, like chasing after Brock Vandegrift on the clip. So a lot of athleticism, a lot of potential there. It was fun to hear him talk about having transitioned from tackle to then guard to then, oh, by the way, we need you to snap too, and then learning how to snap. And he said, mic IDs were one thing. Figuring out where people were, where the offensive line is supposed to be going and where we're working to as a unit, that was one thing. But figuring out how to snap and dealing with the pressures that come from getting yelled at when you make a bad snap. Because, like, guys, when I miss a block or when I fall off a block, the play can still run, right? We can still get the rep in. We can get the film of everybody else, all the other, 21 guys on the field we can evaluate. If you throw a damn ball over the quarterback's head or if you roll a turd back there, we can't do nothing with that. We can't do nothing with that. We got to blow the whistle. We just lost, 45, 50 seconds in today's practice. That's valuable stuff, and that'll really get you cussed out at practice. And he said that was certainly something that happened to him when he first got there. Arian Smith, new team record, shortest presser, hands down. I mean, it was rat-a-tat-tat up in that thing today. He was asked about David Daniel, and my boy Chip asked him about getting hit by a bus. We talked about it yesterday on the show, did we not?
Yeah, we did.
We talked about it yesterday on the show about how David Daniel, we thought he was jumping over a car. Turns out he had to dodge a bus because Chip was like, hey, didn't he get hit by a car? And Arian Smith was like, nah, I think it was actually a bus. And he was like, what you think about that? And he was like, I don't know. Pretty wild, Athens. So, yeah, maybe Chip watched a friend of the show?
Maybe.
Bet
that bus is totaled now.
I bet that bus is totaled. David Daniel Sissavon targeting on the bus. Everyone also knows about David Daniel. Like, everybody knows. Dude's a hunter. Apparently, his name around the building is Big Hitter or something like that. Something that connotes I knock lights out. So that's cool. Gonna be something we're watching closely this weekend as well with him. And it was also interesting to hear the question of, is this week different? SEC week. Is this week different? SEC week. All week we've been getting that coach speak. Nah, we prepare every week the same. Arian slipped up. I don't know if he slipped up because he didn't know or he didn't get the memo, but he was asked about it today. And he said, nah, man, coach came in immediately earlier in the week and was like, hey, SEC week, strap it up. It's time to go. So there's a different vibe in the building this week, believe it or not. And that's something we definitely weren't going to get out of anybody else. So that's hot off the pressers. Let's talk about this Stetson Bennett news. That's why most of you are probably here today. You see the title. If you're not watching us live, you're watching us on review mostly because of probably the titling. We don't speculate around here. I don't like to do any type of speculatory stuff, particularly with regards to off the field matters or anything regarding to injuries or anything regarding any, sensitive information or anything like that. We will speculate with, hey, they might do this, we might speculate with some X's and O's, but we don't do anything with regards to speculation around here. So I'll just do the facts with this. Here are the facts. Stetson Bennett was placed on the PUP/non-football injury list today by the Los Angeles Rams. So what does that mean? A player gets placed on the non-football injury list for the following reasons. A player has either suffered an injury from away from the team's facilities. It could be during personal training, a recreational activity, or a vehicle/home incident. Or the player has a long-term illness outside of football, or a player has an injury that occurred during a college season which prevents that player from practicing at the start of his rookie season. Sean McVay was asked whether or not this was injury-related. He said this was not because Stetson's been dealing with a shoulder injury, and McVay quickly answered that this was not about his shoulder injury. And then McVay was continuously asked about this. And he's put in a bad spot. He didn't want to talk about the subject. He was repetitively asked about the subject. And finally he says this, that's all I'm going to say, and I really hope that you can please respect my wishes in regards to keeping that in-house. I understand that you have a job to do, but there's certain things that I think are a bit bigger and more important, and out of respect for the particulars and specifics, want to be able to keep it in-house, and that's where I'd like to leave it, please. He basically no commented the whole thing, said it was an off-the-field issue and a personal matter. I wanted to keep it that way. We'll keep it that way as well. Do y'all have any additional thoughts on the matter?
No, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can say right now.
There's really not.
You don't want to jump to speculations. Obviously, there's going to be rumors swirling around, but
there's a bunch of people that have already done it. I don't understand what makes it's just because he's a little older that people think they're allowed to do this with Stetson, but immediately run into social media and wanting to make a take or make a joke about this. We don't want to do that here, and we wouldn't do that with anybody. We just felt like we're a college football news station. If you will, a news network, if you will, with regards to Talk the Dog and MBR. So we brought you the news. That's all we got about it, and we'll move on. So welcome into tonight's show. We have film observations. I took a look at the All-22 on the defensive side of the football today. That's up on patreon.com/Brooks Austin if you want to check that out. We'll talk a little bit about what Georgia needs to prove on Saturday. Not that we're people that have to get your approval, the University of Georgia football team, but we have the segment, so we're going to talk about it. Buy, sell, and hold as well, one of the favorites around this network. We invented it. Did y'all know that? We invented the radio segment of Buy, Sell, and Hold. We also invented biggest disappointments and surprises. We'll talk about that tonight. But first, I want to give a shout out to Prize Picks. Head over to prizepicks.com today. Use promo code Brooks. You'll get a 100% deposit match. What does that mean? That means you put $100 in, you'll get $100 back. It is maxed and capped at $100. Some good stuff going on over there. Obviously, as college football is ramping up. Tomorrow, you got NFL football as well. So head over there today. Promo code Brooks, 100% deposit match up to and including $100. We do have a great show for you guys, but I want to talk a little bit of something about full context. I'm going to be honest with you. It's something that I don't think people really care to hear, first of all, with regards to the idea of full context. But it's also something that in this day and age, people clearly don't seek. The idea of going and trying to figure out what happened in totality as opposed to just reading or watching the clip that you were presented and just running with your opinion from that. I know y'all aren't interested in that. You know how I know y'all aren't interested in that? I had to pay a robot today to take our hour-long shows and condense them into 60-second clips because people tell me all y'all want to do is watch TikTok and short compressed videos. So that's what I got to do. I got to pay an automated AI bot to condense everything because that's all people want. They just want 30, 60, 90-second clips, and you don't want full context. All right? So when something happens, you don't seek it. All right? You don't go out here looking for what actually happened with regards to the storyline. Okay? And this Kirby Smart story, if you want to call it that, with him, quote-unquote, searching for false narratives or going out here looking for headline clippings and twisting storylines to get narratives right. It's all junk, and it's all because people don't look for full context. We have both clips here, both clips that should have went viral. One went viral because it just went viral. The other one's the full context clip that should have went viral in response to the virality of the first one, if that makes any sense at all. Give me this first clip of Tonka Hemingway talking at SEC Media Days about ranking the stadiums, and then the subsequent response from Kirby Smart. And then I want to play the full context clip because it's a totally different picture. Give me the first one.
Way environments are concerned. And in your career so far, what has been the most hostile road environment you've played in your time with the Gamecocks?
Ooh, hostile? I'd probably say like one of the loudest, Texas A&M. Texas A&M a good one. Tennessee can get pretty loud too as well. So between them two.
People want to question whether our fans are elite. We'll find out Saturday, right? Sounds like Tonka called them out. So maybe we need to use Tonka for motivation and let him be the one that spurns our group to come out there at 3:30 and be really loud and fired up. So I certainly hope our fan base will be there. They've answered the bell every single time. I don't know why they wouldn't.
All right, so clipped like that, you think, I mean, Tonka didn't call them out. He didn't even mention them. Why is Kirby talking about Georgia? Why is he even talking about it? Like, the kid didn't even mention Georgia. Why is he calling the kid out? Yada, yada, yada. Why is Kirby using all this false narrative shit? He didn't even mention you. Play the full clip, please, because this is how the question was presented to Kirby, and it's no fault to the reporter, but this is how it was presented to Kirby Smart, and he doesn't know what Tonka Hemingway said at SEC Media Day, because why the hell would he? Not out here watching player pressers, but here's how it was presented during press conference yesterday. By the way, was in the room.
Coach, you kind of talked about how the fans have been a little bit. I just wanted to ask overall, what has your opinion been on the attendance and at least the crowd noise they were developing through these first two games? And I know at SEC Media Days, Tonka Hemingway was asked about some of the toughest stadiums he played in, and Georgia wasn't on that list. How important or how just good to see Sanford being one of the toughest places to play around not only the SEC but the NCAA?
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be that. People want to question whether our fans are elite. We'll find out Saturday, right? Sounds like Tonka called them out. So maybe we need to use Tonka for motivation and let him be the one that spurns our group to come out there at 3:30 and be really loud and fired up. So I certainly hope our fan base will be. They've answered the bell every single time. I don't know why they wouldn't now.
All right, so you hear it right there. It's in the midst of an answer. Sounds like Tonka called him out. We'll find out on Saturday. Because, again, he even mentioned it. Listen back, that you can hear the reporter say it was a list of schools. What does it feel like to have Georgia not listed on that schools? It was two schools. It was Tennessee and Texas A&M. It wasn't like he went through this smattering of SEC schools, and all that good stuff. However, if Kirby does use this as, like, motivation, right, for you guys, the fan base that watches this, if he were to use this as like sauce, as something to just feed you guys, let's be real honest and frank about something right now, okay? I'm gonna just lay it out there and be truthful with you guys, okay? Let's not act like Sanford Stadium is Death Valley. Let's not. Let's not act like Sanford Stadium is known for one of the most hostile environments in college football. It's not. That's not what it's known for. From an outsider's perspective, people do not think of Sanford Stadium as Death Valley. All right, that's what it is. Death Valley is Death Valley. It's the only one that's ever really compared to it. And then everything else is kind of up and down, depending upon environment, right? Depending upon vibe that day. So as a head football coach, God forbid I go out and try to encourage my fans and tick them off just a little bit. Because, by the way, that's kind of my job. My job as a football coach is to what? It's to inspire people. That's what it is, really. You are the leader of an organization. Any leader of an organization, that's what your job is. Your job is to cause inspiration. Okay, it's to make sure all of your operations are in order, make sure you hire the correct people, make sure you're producing the right product, make sure everything's clean operationally. Yes, 100%. But it's also the inspirational part. I mean, he's known for his pregame speeches. He just gave the fan base a pregame speech by getting a little alley-oop from the media guy. That's it. And if you want to do like, oh, man, can't believe all this false narrative stuff. Look at Kirby reaching. By the way, something's working. Not to do the something's working thing, but you know who else plays nobody believed in us stuff? Deion Sanders. That's some bitch winning. You know who else does the nobody believes in us stuff? Nick Saban. Guess what? That dude wins. Like, why? You see what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
I just think it's weird because it's not like it's out of character for Kirby Smart to call out the fan base and challenge them I mean, heck, his head coaching career at Georgia basically started with him calling out the fans to say, show up for our G-Day spring game, pack the stadium full. He's been doing it since 2016. And so to act like Kirby Smart went away from SEC Media Days is like, oh, Tonka Hemingway, I'm going to get you, buddy. I'm sitting on this one for the next 2 months so I can bring it out on Monday, opening presser, and call you out to challenge our fan base. That's not at all what it is. But this is not out of character for Kirby Smart to do whatsoever.
It would be one thing if it was like, hey, coach, here's the clip. What you think about that? You know? But it's not how it was presented. It was like, hey, Tonka did a list. Didn't include Georgia. Thoughts? You know? Like, that's kind of how it was.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to the misunderstanding of the national championship when I still think half of the world believes that Kirby Smart somehow convinced this team, last year's team, that they're going 7-5.
Yeah.
And now that's the whole viral thing. So when people see this, they're immediately going to jump on it. Oh, Kirby Smart's full of shit. He's just doing whatever he can to motivate his team. he wasn't even calling out his team. He was calling out the fan base saying be loud for the 3:30 kick. So it's very interesting to see people up in arms about that. It means that Kirby Smart is made as a coach. Because if that's the thing that you're going to get mad at and fixate on, who cares?
By the way, I'm just now in the early infant stages of visiting all these SEC schools. So we gonna find out. We're gonna find out over the next 5, 6, 7 years what all these fan bases is talking about. But it really is y'all haven't had a Notre Dame night game since Notre Dame night game. I guarantee you Neyland Stadium was insane last year when Alabama came to town. I bet it was a top 1 environment all college football season. I bet Tuscaloosa was insane Saturday night. I bet it was until there was a 10-point lead, and then I bet it got kind of quiet. When A.D. Mitchell caught that touchdown, I bet it got real, real quiet. But outside of what stadium am I missing here? It's just LSU. LSU is known as the most raucous and chaotic environment.
Penn State's wideout gets a lot of credit.
It gets a lot of credit.
It's just the wideout. People
and it's the fact that they do hold 102 out there.
Yeah.
Penn State's stadium is massive, is it not?
Yeah, it's massive. I believe most of the Big Ten stadiums.
Most of the big schools in the Big Ten.
The Big House, Michigan, that one obviously gets its credit too. But most of that I think also stems from you get the game every other year. Same thing for the Shoe at Ohio State. Those stadiums are the ones that get credit, but you also have one of the biggest games in college football season every single year.
Kyle Field also gets a lot of credit for being a super tough place to play.
That's true. 112.
Yeah, so.
Shouts out Johnny Manziel, man. Johnny Manziel built a whole ass football stadium because he was out here doing that one. That's wild, bro.
It really is.
That's crazy.
So, and it's not that Georgia isn't or can't be one of the top environments in college football. It's just they haven't really had the opportunity to. You go to last year's Tennessee game. I think that was probably easily top 3 loudest environment in college football. Yeah. So it's kind of they haven't had a super big reason to. To your point again, they don't get a lot of big marquee night games.
And I think that's why you see Kirby Smart challenge the fan base so much because, let's be real, the last 2 years, now going into 3 years, most of your regular season home games have just been butt whoopings. But then when you really need them to, like Arkansas in 2021, Tennessee last year, there's several games where Kirby Smart has done this where he wants his fan base to show up and be supportive of them. Maybe he feels like he does have to come out and say, look, this is not going to be one of those 30-point blowouts you get to leave by halftime. We are expecting this to be a football game going into the fourth quarter.
I want to ask Georgia players a similar question, but it's kind of like a dead point. You know what I mean? The last 3 or 4 years, they haven't really played in something super crazy either on the road. They will this year. Mm-hmm. If Tennessee's that.
Yeah.
We talked about on NBR last night. We don't necessarily neither of the 3 of us are yep, Tennessee's going to be undefeated in November.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. We don't feel that.
Yeah, the closest thing you could say is Tennessee in 2021. But other than that,
up big early on the road.
Yeah.
I think that was a 28-10 game midway through the second.
Yeah.
Stetson's out there pulling Reed keeps. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in the first half of that football game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
they all had the flu too. That was a flu game.
Oh yeah.
It was Vontae White, Jalen Carter flu game.
Forgot about that.
I forgot about
Still
that.
dubbed them.
But other than that, I can't really think of a tough road. I would say the toughest road environment last year was Mississippi State, and that's not anything too demanding.
And that wasn't sold out. I was there. It was not. The upper bowl there was not even close to sold out. We got all kinds of serious topics left on the sheet, and there's a bunch of people watching here. So make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. And I think we should talk about the most pressing thing today, which is the fact that the Mexican government released a bunch of aliens. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Do we have a photo for the audience?
We got 2 photos.
We have 2 photos for the audience. So let's put those up for the audience, not to freak them out too much. But there were alien bodies that were released today by the Mexican government. And I'm just telling you right now, I said it on Twitter, I would dub up 65 of these aliens, bro. It's no wonder they haven't brought the smoke, all right? Because they don't want none. Look at them. That dude's as big as a hand. They had babies in the bellies apparently too. Chat's saying they're already debunked, but we're gonna go on and have some fun anyways. Amarius Mims. We've been playing a bunch of Amarius versus games around here. The chat thought Amarius versus Mountain Lion wasn't necessarily a great discussion. Amarius versus an alien. What you think?
That alien?
Any alien. How big that alien got to be before?
How about this? How many of those aliens would it take to beat Amarius Mims?
100. And they got to be working in unison. If they're individuals, I mean, he can go on for hours until he just gets tired. You know, it's no different than if I gave you a 1 pound weight and just made you do curls. Like you do it all day long the first day. And then the second day, your elbow joints would just give out. You know what I mean? Yeah. You'd only be able to kick so many aliens.
I think you have to get an alien that's equal to the size of Amarius, or probably bigger, to be honest. Like, it's going to have to be some type.
You got to give it a slight advantage.
Yeah, for sure.
What if I gave that dead alien laser beams in his eyes?
Oh, well, shoot. I think then Amarius might take the L on that one.
You also got to think, like, what if these aliens got, like, ant strength, where they're small, but they can live 4 times their body?
Great point. Wow. That's definitely plausible.
This, yeah.
No, that's plausible for sure. In that case, I don't want no smoke.
Yeah. So you've been talking shit now, and they're listening.
Damn. Aliens got me. Aliens probably king of AI, right? So they probably, by the time they meet me, they'll probably have one of them, like, Terminator things. It's like, here's all of his fun facts. Snacks way too much after 12:30.
That's the first one on the list.
Puts way too much hair gel in. You know what I mean? Can't listen to babies cry. It'll have all of my stats right there on the thing.
Damn.
If you got introduced to, speaking of aliens, if you got introduced to this show right now tonight with that, what do you think?
Geez.
What the hell is this?
Let's give him some real analysis. I'm known as the film guy around here. It's called the Film Guy Network. I've got some film observations for you guys. Went and watched the defense today. If you want to watch it, it's over on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. Won't cost you nothing but a pub sub this month to run over there and check out all of that good stuff. We spent 30 minutes. Yeah, right. I'm starving. We spent about 30 minutes on the defense today. Spent about 30 minutes on the offense, or Miss South Carolina's defense yesterday. So make sure you're going and watching that over there on patreon.com/Brooks Austin. But anyways, the rotations have really settled at corner. Okay, first game, it was like, all right, second series, Julian Humphrey in for a starting Dalen Everett, opposite of a starting Kamari Laster. This week is pretty noticeable. They gave Everett some extended run there, all right? It was very interesting to hear Kirby not complain, but Kirby's concern was the fact that his starters haven't played enough. It's like, okay, we're going to find out, I guess, what their conditioning levels is this week. But anyways, it was very noticeable the first game that, hey, Kamari and Dalen are still battling this out. It seems pretty noticeable to me that Dalen Everett's kind of going to be the guy. Unless he plays his way out of it, it looks like he's going to be the one. Now, this weekend is going to be the test for these corners because Rattler has a willingness to throw the football up, and they got this wide receiver named Leggett who's about 6'2.5", it looks like on tape, maybe 220. He's a big kid, and he's great at 50-50 balls. And guess what? We've told you over the years here on this channel, most offenses against Georgia years past have looked like downset hut, chuck it up. So if it's just going to result to 50-50 balls all day, you're going to get a lot of them on Saturday. And South Carolina might be one of the teams that can get you. And by the way, they've always been that team. I think if you guys remember in 2020, Josh Vann ate you up. The year before that, some dude named number 89 ate you up. That was there forever. It felt like Bryce Edwards, okay, ate you alive for like 2 years. So they kind of always have a dude, and they got one this week that you're going to see as well. Additionally, it's kind of crazy to see Malachi Stark. This is our defensive film note last week. It's crazy to watch Malachi Stark somehow continue to get better. You knew he was a young player last year. It was not insane. It was crazy to me to listen to Kirby Smart say that he was nervous last year. Did you hear that in his press conference on Monday? Was asked about Malachi, and he said when he obviously watches South Carolina tape from last year, he said when I watch, conference opponents and familiar opponents from last year, when we watch that tape, it's funny to watch how nervous 24 looks compared to now. That's nuts. That's scary a little bit to me that that South Carolina game, he was the best. It looked like he was the best player in that first unit until he got off the field because they were up 30 points in the second quarter. I mean, insane to listen to that, and it's terrifying, honestly. We talked about the play last night. We put it out on Twitter. The ground that dude covers and the space he covers is really, really shocking when you watch it on tape. cover, the idea of being able to play a lot of cover 6, which is where we get to split up one portion of the field and we get to let one dude handle half of the field. That's only really plausible when you have a guy like Malachi Starks, and he does a lot of that, and a lot of that really, really well. And he's a faster football player. He's the fastest processor on the football field. That's obvious and very noticeable when you turn it on. I worry about your eye discipline this week, okay? I worry about your eye discipline in the defensive backfield without Javon Bullard. Javon was I've finally gotten that one down. Bullard.
Yeah, it's rolling off the tongue.
It's just crisp. We don't have any of those anymore. We got to find some more. One of them's got to give me a fat tongue. Anyways, Javon Bullard not being back there, he was playing the deep safety, okay, which covers up a lot of the, guy underneath got beat, I'm going to fix that. Guy underneath is getting beat, ball's getting thrown over the top, I'm going to cloud that window. A lot of that was handled, not that you were getting deep shots thrown against you, but a lot of that was going to be handled by a guy like Javon, who has great eyes. He's and great instincts. He's always in the right spot. And if you hear, and if you've been listening about Daniel, and who's going to play over Dan Jackson this weekend, it sounds like and looks like, and we believe Dan's going to get some run, obviously. But if you listen to the things about David, all you hear about is his striking ability. Mostly, not all you hear about. What mostly you hear about is his striking ability. He will come down and he will fill gaps and he will fit and help out in the run game, and he will be solidified there. What we don't hear about it is his ground coverage ability, or his ability to go, cover, if you will, and play coverage and play deep safety and do all the things that Bullard was basically doing for you, because as we've talked about, the film kind of surprised us to see Malachi Starks playing the hole safety and Bullard playing center field safety. So that was kind of surprising to us to see most of the time Starks handling the running of the alley stuff. So that's kind of the thing that I noticed on tape. It's going to be tested this weekend, and it was kind of an unfortunate injury in terms of timing for you guys with Bullard. Every injury is unfortunate, with the timing this being this week. Really unfortunate. Hey, Warren Brinson, we've talked a little bit about it. Talked about it over on the Players Lounge. Last week, Players Lounge, defensive breakdown. Rennie Curran, our guy Boykin, David Pollock, Aaron Murray. This week, me, Boykin, and Murray. Kind of a step down. Hope you watch it anyways. I think their numbers might be a little different. If they're not, if my numbers boom, calling an agent immediately. I'm like, bro, I'm better than Pollock. Check it. You know what I mean? Just kidding. Would never do that. Where were we at? Film observations.
Warren Brinson. Leaving money out on the field, dude. Money out on the field.
And it's interesting. Some guys know. We'll leave that for Patreon. Patreon's going to get a nug today. Discord's going to get a nug today about Warren Brinson. So there you go. Head over to patreon.com/PerkSauce and hop in the Discord. Do we want to do buy, sell, and hold?
I'd love to.
Yeah, let's rip it.
Let's do it. Oh, one more. They're finding very unique ways to get Michael Williams interiorly rushing the passer. Everyone asked about Jalen Carter. How are you going to replace the immediate impact he makes on football games? Well, I got one for you. We'll just take Michael and we'll bump him inside, and we'll put him over a center, or we'll put him over a guard, and we'll really screw things up because we'll let him do what Myles Garrett did, right? Where Myles Garrett's matched up with a center doing all of his little basketball stuff the other night on an NFL football field, okay? And, Michael's going to do something similar a lot this year. Pay attention to where 13 is on third down. Let's do buy, sell, and hold.
All right.
What do y'all got?
First one, Spencer Rattler has multiple interceptions.
He has 0 this year, right?
0 this year. Had 2 against Georgia last year.
I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell it because I think if there's one piece of maturation in Spencer Rattler's game, it's not been physically. It's not physically gotten any better. I think that's noticeable. If you watch his freshman tape to now, there's not much physical maturation of the athlete. However, there has been some maturation in the decision-making processes. He doesn't put the ball at risk as much on tape. I said it last night. I'll say it again. I love what I've seen from Spencer through 2 games. Now, that's all sweet. We'll see what it looks like Saturday, but it's not like he's going to be – how could you ever be under more duress than he was against North Carolina? Mm-hmm. Georgia going to have 10 sacks on Saturday? I mean, is that going to happen? Probably not. No. Probably not. So, yeah, I'm going to sell that one. What you got?
I have Dylan Bell will be the team's leading rusher on Saturday.
sell for the narrative purposes, unless he breaks an explosive. One thing I know about Kirby, I should say I know this about him. One thing I think about Kirby is that he knows that if Dylan Bell has 15 carries for 150 yards, the first question is going to be about Dylan Bell, and then the story becomes Dylan Bell in the running back room, not, okay, we got Dejon back this week, we got Kendall back this week, look at what Kendall's doing in the passing game. You know, every time that kind of question gets presented to Kirby in post-game pressers, hey, here's a lob, say something nice about a player who played well today. He does one of two things. He compliments the other person in the room or the other people in the room, or he criticizes something that player did today, right? Well, it's always with running backs too, and not always with running backs. It's with everybody. Everyone gets the smoke. That's the memo. But the one that always sticks out with the running backs is, hey, Coach, Dylan Bell had a great run today. So-and-so had a great cut. What'd you think? Well, I think he missed 2 blitzes. I think he missed 2 blitz pickups, and I think that's the main thing that I took away from today. Yeah, Grady had a good play, but he missed here. You know what I mean? Like, It's always that, and even down to maybe Saturday, because I do believe they're going to control the football game for the most part. Saturday being, I don't want my 3rd, 4th best receiver right now. Dylan Bell, the 3rd or 4th best receiver without Rad McConkey.
I'd say so, yeah.
Right? 3rd or 4th. I don't want my 3rd or 4th best receiver suddenly becoming my best running back. I'm going to sell that for that purpose.
I like it.
Brock Bowers has his first monster game of the season. I'm talking like 140 receiving yards type thing.
I want to hold because Oscar Delp almost was a Gamecock. You know what I mean?
He did have a touchdown against him last year.
Oscar Delp was almost a Gamecock, and now he's not 2 points in a row. Brooksy doing Kirby Smart narrative steering. What is going on? Kirby doesn't care about that. Someone hit me yesterday talking about Kirby doesn't care about the scoreboard. All he cares about is winning. And to an extent. But sometimes he cares about winning really, really bigly. And against Shane Beamer, that's one of those times. What was the buy, sell, and hold?
Brock Bowers has his first monster game.
I'm gonna buy it because I want to see it.
Okay.
But no. I'm selling because of what I saw on film this morning. Sorry, dude. I am jacked, man. I'm gonna sell for this reason. South Carolina plays a bunch of cover 1 man. The safety sits in the middle of the field, and Bowers, they're going to be told all week, hey, 19's not going to beat us, 19's not going to beat us, 19's not. It's going to look like they're double covering him. When they are, it's man coverage underneath with a safety over the top. But I already said what I'd do. I'd get in 0-2 personnel like they did last week, where they had Brock Bowers at running back, Oscar Delp at end of line tight end, and then ran Dominic Lovett in motion. Remember they put that on tape last week? I would get in that formation and spread to empty and just dare them to play man, because that's what they did against North Carolina. North Carolina got their ass in empty, and they just sat there in man coverage, and North Carolina was like, really? You think you can cover all 5 guys today? Interesting. And they just toot with Drake May. So I don't know if that's what they're going to do to Georgia, but if you're willing to do it to Drake May, I would imagine you're willing to do it to Carson Beck. So that's what you're probably going to get, and that means Brock Bowers is not going to be able to win on Saturday, unless he's just a freak, which he's a freak. Yeah. So there you go.
All right. Georgia's highest scoring quarter is the first quarter.
Sell. And here's why. Okay? Beamer knows he's outmatched. What have we seen every single football team do? Well, at least through 2 weeks. And in years past. That first possession is 10, 12, 13 plays. I mean, it's dink, dunk, it's pick, pop. It's just ding, 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 ding. That's why Kentucky has such success on the opening drives, typically against Georgia, when it's not 18 degrees and 45-degree winds. But normally, and Bobo used to have good success against them in that first drive, where he could really stack up plays, right? Auburn had a good drive before Bo Nix kicked one off his foot a couple years ago against them. South Carolina almost got him a couple years ago against them. So the way you score against Georgia in early football games and the way you keep that halftime score tight is to take that first drive and really matriculate the ball down the field. Do you remember that year Sam Pittman was not that year Sam Pittman was the head coach. Remember 2020, they were down they were up 6-3 at the half. Remember that year, Arkansas was this is the first year of Kendall Briles. They were supposed to be like spreading it out, getting after it. Big number 13 from Florida was their transfer quarterback. What was Buddy's name?
Franks.
Felipe Franks, right? They're supposed to be this fun and gun, spreading, kicking it football team. Next thing you know, their first drive is like 13 plays, 14 plays, because they knew we're not going to beat you. So we're going to have to dink and dunk you all the way down the field. So I'm going to sell that. It's just schematically, other teams don't allow Georgia to score a bunch of points. I wish you guys would understand that. It'd calm your opinions down on Twitter just a little bit.
The last one I have, Rattler is sacked at least 3 times.
Bye. Michael gets him twice. I think Warren Brinson gets him once. You got any more?
I got one more.
Oh, let's
Ra
do it.
Thomas will have at least 75 receiving yards. Who he's thinking?
I'm going to buy it, and here's why. Arian Smith was asked about him today, and we told you on this network, I think back in August, that it was a playbook issue, right? That's the first thing he said. He said he's finally got. He didn't say he's finally got the playbook. It's more of he's got the playbook now, so he knows when he's supposed to be in. He knows what the calls are. He doesn't have to think. And he could just go out there and play. And that to me sounds like man's finna eat. And he's about to get a lot of man coverage this weekend. And he's an NFL football player. That's everything that anybody who's been in that building that believes or that has watched these guys practice this year knows that guy has first round traits. He has no first round tape, but he has first round traits, and that's important. All right, buy, sell, and hold. Appreciate that. Appreciate you guys for listening right now. If you haven't already, please get out of the live chat. Go hit that thumbs up button and come running right back to that live chat and flood that sucker right there. Hey, Georgia's got some folks to prove some things to on Saturday, I guess. There's some, I would imagine there's some unease in the fan base right now.
Oh, yeah.
Just from a ceiling standpoint. You know you're going to control the regular season, but what's your ceiling look like? You guys play for national titles at the University of Georgia. That's what you root for. So there's plenty left to be proven, right? We had a segment last night, biggest questions or concerns left remaining on the football squad, right? We gave them 3. By the way, whoever doesn't like give them 3, get out of here. I had a commenter on that one yesterday. I give them 3. Doubled up on you. Anyways, what does Georgia need to prove this weekend? I want them to run counter to perfection. It's a selfishness thing for me. I love watching counter. I love watching it happen. I love the things that come off of being a heavy counter action football team. It allows us to be a naked boot team. It allows us to be a 7-man protection team. It allows us to be a power pass football team. It allows us to simplify deep play action like ball fakes. We don't have to 6-man slide. We can power pass. We can use angles. We can keep tights in. We can worry, or we can only have to worry about running 2-man concepts and 2-man routes because everybody else is now in the box worrying about all these people pulling. I love watching counter football teams, but maybe you're not a counter football team this year. And we've kind of drawn it up over and over again. Let's do it right now. We have this fancy studio. We might as well do it. We have Epic Pen over here. We got a big X message over here. We got all kinds of stuff over here. All right. We talked one day on this channel about how, come on now. We talked on this channel one day. Oh, Epic Pen giving me issues on live television. You little hoe. Nope, shouldn't have said that on live television either. Anyways, back over here. Off script. When your tight end can really close space down, when he can really move things down, and you have this tackle over here who's really athletic, a.k.a. Broderick Jones, and he can really run out in space. Well, your front side of counter is far better because you're better than anyone else. Kirby Smart called him a once-in-a-generation talent, that being Darnell, right? You have this once-in-a-generational talent closing things down on this side, and then you have this elite space athlete pulling and getting out into space on the other side. So we have replaced one of those with Oscar Delp, who, by the way, is working his butt off. We've talked about it on the channel. We'll say it again. Had the game of his career Saturday. Played good again this weekend before we Xavier Trust you. Xavier Trust really let me down. I was out here preseason talking about dude's going to be NFL for, like top 50 pick, guys. Played 45 games in the SEC. How many of those do you have walking around in the league? Not a bunch. Offensive line play, kind of abysmal right now, and then we're on our face the first 2 games. Come on, 73. Got to be a little bit better. But no, I want to see them get better at running counter, but I don't know if they're going to be a counter football team this year. I really don't. They might just be a split zone football team all year, and if that's the case, that's the case. But I haven't seen a ton of it on tape. Other thing I want to see, I want to see them get after Spencer Rattler and get him to the ground. I think the only reason or the only recipe for sustained success on Saturday is if you guys are running to Twitter going, why do we keep letting him get out of the pocket? Why do we keep letting him extend plays? And the only way that's going to happen is if he can make the first free defender miss. It's what he couldn't do last year. If you watch it last year, he either was content throwing one off of his heels. The Malachi Starks interception was an example of that. Or he just tucked and took the sack or tried to bail out. But he's not, like we talked about earlier, he's not like a super elite athlete. So I want to see him kind of vertically test you, but I don't know if it's going to happen if you can get him down on the ground. You haven't had one. You haven't had a team since Ohio State be able to kind of push you vertically through the passing game. I don't know if it's going to be this, but there were yards left on the field last year when I watched the tape of Spencer against Georgia. As bad as it looked, and as much as, oh my God, his guys can't get open. Oh my God, the offense is anemic. My God, Marcus Satterfield, y'all got to do something with that. As much as it was that, it was also like, oh, you missed that just a little bit. And those types of explosive plays will keep South Carolina somewhat in this game until the second half. I want to see this wide receiver group get absolutely loose on Saturday. I think they have to prove that they are who we think they are, right? I want to see this room prove that they had an SEC X in Ra Thomas join the roster. I want to see them prove that they had an 800-yard receiver in Dominic Lovett in the SEC join that roster. That's what I want to see. And I, as an analyst, do not give you reprieve because Ladd McConkey's not on the field. It's just not what we do. Okay, you got enough talent elsewhere. Make it happen. What do you guys want to see this weekend? What do they have to prove?
That the offensive line is the best in the country, like we said and preached this whole offseason, especially against an SEC opponent where the schedule's here, the meat of the schedule is here. It's time to actually play up to your opponent and play with that fire that we've seen you play with before, because we know this group can do it. We've seen every single player on that offensive line play like we know that they can. So reach into that ceiling, explode through that ceiling maybe even on Saturday.
It's also something that, like, it was interesting listening to Tate this week. He was asked about the offensive line's play and asked about heavy boxes or whatever. And his answer was the right answer, which is heavy boxes aren't an excuse. Like, we're good enough to handle those things. Like, we shouldn't need 5 guys to block 4. If there's 5 guys there and we have 5, we should handle our 5. That's how good we are. There are no excuses. So they know they haven't played up to their standard. Does that make them go out and play better this weekend? I don't know, because I'm not one for we're pissed off talk like Tyler Booker had. Mm-hmm. We're not here for that. Even though that was a classic, just pulled the quote. What's the kid supposed to say? We're happy we lost. You know what I mean? But anyways, go on.
Second one, I'm in the same boat as you, but specifically with the wide receivers, I want them to prove that they can be without Ladd McConkey and sustain offensive success, because it looks like that you're probably going to have to be without Ladd just a little bit this year. Going to be touch and go quite a bit. So want to see this wide receiver room step up, see some guys like Ra Thomas, Dominic Lovett really step up, make some plays. Arian Smith get out in open space and make those big plays in the offense. And my last one, I want to know that the secondary hype is warranted. What we've seen these first 2 games, I want to know against a guy like Spencer Rattler, against an SEC opponent, against the Gamecocks, I want to see the secondary be like, yeah, we are the best in the country. We got some dudes back here, even if we don't have Javon Bullard with us.
Way to just handle your boss being unprofessional in the middle of the stream, in the middle of your take, walking out and getting some water. What do you got?
So the first one I've got is prove that they can have an explosive offense and be a downfield threat. They haven't really taken many shots yet. It's not that they can't. I just don't think they've shown that yet. And I think you do have to more prove that to the fan base than anything, because now it's all, we know Bobo's run, pass, punt. So kind of do that to shut them up, take some downfield shots.
Run, pass, punt, RRPP.
Yeah.
Print the shirts. Should we print the shirts?
RRPP?
RRPP with a little MB on the bottom, because you can't take his likeness.
Yeah.
You know?
Could you say Mobo?
Ooh.
There you go.
RRPP, Mobo. I love it. We got anything else?
Yeah, I got 2 more.
Yeah.
That they can run the ball at will if they wanted to. Everyone's kind of talked about how this running back room's not that deep. The O-line's kind of underwhelming so far. So I think they should have at least 2 drives where you just pound it. Those traditional Georgia close out the game drives where it's just run 60 yards, shut down the clock. I think you need one of those. Then third thing I think you need to prove is that you aren't complacent. because this is your first big test. Everyone's kind of saying, oh, you know, they've started slow, even though they haven't really. But I think if you come out and you show you still have that fire and you still are the teams that you've seen the last 2 years, I think that's going to be really big.
It's going to be really big to come out and show out that fire for this fire-ass NBR that's coming up in just about 5 minutes. We got Cade McNamara saying a little something, getting caught in a hey, yo moment. We got a head football coach calling themselves Santa Claus. We want to talk about that. We got why you shouldn't sleep on this slate. We got all kinds of good stuff coming to you here in about 5 minutes. Love you. See you.
Mouse is not working.
We can't end it?
We're stuck.
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, you're off. You're on the writing utensil.